If there was one thing that could have ended my business 17 years ago, it would be because of the numbers. I hate accounting, taxes, W-9s, W-2s, W-40s, spreadsheets, all of that stuff. And I hate it mostly because I'm afraid of it. I'm just not great with numbers. If this sounds familiar, or if you're so new in your business that it's not even on your radar yet, you need Core Group. Core Group can help you create financial systems and tax strategies that you need so you can grow profitably, and they've been doing this for over 20 years. They become an extension of your team so that you can stay in your lane of expertise and then lean on them to help guide you along the way. For me, having a team of experts in my corner to help keep track of our books and just to make sure that we're budgeting for taxes appropriately, to have an actual strategy for our taxes and our accounting is priceless. And it allows me to sleep easier at night, knowing that I don't have to be an expert in that arena. If you want to avoid surprises in your video business, and you want experienced help building a plan for the future that you want, both professionally and personally, head over to studiosherpas.com/core for more information. And when you're ready to set up a free consult with them, make sure to mention Studio Sherpas for a special discount too. Got your back. Get more out of your accountant. Go to studiosherpas.com/core. What is up, my friend? Welcome to this episode of the show. This is episode 250. Holy cow. My name is Ryan Koral, and I'm the host of this show. And I've been the host for almost all the episodes. For those of you who know the story, Studio Sherpas was started 5 years ago with my friend Matt Davis, and we had a dream. We both ran video companies, separate production companies. I'm in Detroit, Michigan. He is in Wilmington, North Carolina. And we had been a part of a lot of different conferences and workshops, and we had spoken at some and taught and had been doing all of this, community building and really just trying to uplift videographers, filmmakers, people that, like you and me. And we said, you know what? How fun would it be to do this more than once a quarter or whenever we're going to these workshops and doing this stuff? And both of us were like, this would be incredible. This would be so much fun alongside of the production companies that we're doing. Plus, there was this idea that, for me personally, I wanted to be able to give more into the world of videographers. And my story dates back further than Studio Sherpas. 17 years ago, I started my own video production company. Did a whole bunch of stuff for about 6 months. I was doing photo slideshows. I was doing anniversary videos. I stumbled into filming a wedding 6 months into me being a full-time videographer, freelance, and fell in love with that experience. So then I built my brand around wedding filmmaking for close to a decade. And, I was able to charge a lot more throughout the years. We were getting bigger and better weddings and destination stuff and kind of going all over, meeting famous people. And it was really cool. It was super fun. I learned so much about business. I learned so much about myself, and I absolutely loved it. And then in 2012, we transitioned. We created a corporate brand because as my family grew and my desire for I don't want to say making more money, but we had bigger goals than where we were currently at. We wanted to save money. We wanted to be able to put away money for our kids' college funds. We wanted to get a little bit bigger house and just have some freedoms that we weren't experiencing. And it was clear that, hey, I had this business. This is the thing that, has gotten us some success. And, can it be the thing that gets us more success? So, my team grew. We got our first studio space. We quickly outgrew that into a bigger studio space. I got a bigger team, and then we moved to an even bigger space and ended up in how big was it? 2,500, 3,000 square foot, something like that. We're in this really big space, and it was incredible, and it was super fun, and just, having a blast and learning so much about running a business and being creative, and all the while, one of the very first books I had ever read was called The E-Myth. And in The E-Myth, the guy, Michael Gerber, kind of paints this picture of kind of the guts of what it takes to build a business and to run a business effectively. And I'm so grateful to have read that before starting my business, because that was the only business education that I had. I didn't take any business classes in college, and so I didn't know how to start a business. I didn't know how to run a business. I'd always thought about starting businesses and running businesses, but just never did it because I just didn't really know how to do it. And that book was such a good foundation for me, because it was really like, hey, there are different parts to a business. It's not just the video production. Like that is one of three parts. Then you've got the operation of the business, and then you've got what's the other part? Like HR and all that stuff. Oh, sales marketing. I got this nailed down. So there's the actual doing of the work, then there's the selling and the marketing of the work, and then there's the day-to-day operations of the work. And he said in a lot of businesses, when you first start out, like, you're doing all of the things. And I was doing all of the things for a long time. But I also knew, like, for me, I'm all about working with other people. I'm all about community and believing that iron sharpens iron, and knowing that if I had other people alongside of me, they could help me make the work better. And then also, like, in the back of my mind, I was like, well, maybe I don't want to do the work like always. Maybe I'll tire of it at some point. I don't think I will, because I love it so much. But just in case I do, the other thing that helped me in this process is, as I was going to these conferences, and most of the speakers, most of the presenters that I was learning from were like almost twice my age. And I just started thinking, like, what are they going to do, like, when they can't run around and film weddings anymore? Like, what are they going to do? And then so it made me think, like, well, what am I going to do? What am I going to do when I'm not even going to say an age, as maybe some older people are listening to this, they might think, like, I am that age. But it just made me think, like, I'm not always going to be able to run around. And lo and behold, a couple of years ago, I got a herniated disc in my back. A year ago, I had back surgery. And then we had COVID, and, like, all these things that were just like, man, I'm glad that my business wasn't built on weddings, because I personally wouldn't have been able to do them when I had surgery, and just this whole thing, and then COVID and all that stuff. All of that to say, when Matt and I started talking about what would it look like to create something like Studio Sherpas, where we're educating videographers, for me, I thought that would be incredible. I was already leading in Michigan. I was the president of our video association here. And so I was already, like, hosting events and, doing things for local videographers. And I was spending a lot of time doing that, but I wasn't making any money. It was all, what do you call it? Like, where you just give your time, volunteer. It was all volunteer. And I there was part of me that felt guilty. I'm like, man, I wish I could get paid for this, because it's so fun. It's so fulfilling. And then eventually realized that I could. So as Matt and I were talking about, like, let's build a business that's created around educating videographers. And so we had a webinar, and we sold a course where we taught people how to start a corporate filmmaking business. And that was back in 2016. It was the winter. I remember we did it. We had 10 people sign up for this course, and we're like, holy cow. And people gave us money. And so it was like a real thing. Shortly thereafter, all we tried to think about was, like, okay, well, how do we, like, promote this thing? Like, we kind of had a email list of other videographers. We were in a Facebook group with a bunch of other videographers. So that was kind of like, who we invited to be a part of this at the beginning. But we're like, okay, well, this, there's only a few thousand people here. We know there's lots more videographers in the world. Like, how do we reach them? And the idea for a podcast came out of that brainstorm. And for me, I've secretly always, envision myself as a DJ, someone behind the mic. I always love having a microphone. So if I'm ever with you and you have a microphone, I might start drooling, hoping that I could get it in my hand and, like, say something. It doesn't matter where I'm at or what it is. Not even, I don't, well, I was going to say I don't like being the center of attention, but that's not true. My wife would say, that's not true. You love being the center of attention to an extent. This is embarrassing. I'm embarrassing myself. No, it really is. It took a long time for me to realize that it's okay, that some people are wired like the way that I am. I'm not the only one that's like this. And really, I just have this deep passion and desire inside of me that feels like I really believe that I have something to offer the world. Does that sound bad? I'm just going to own it. And therefore, having a microphone or having a stage for me makes me feel like I'm fulfilling part of my purpose. So, when I was a freshman at Oakland University, the first year, again, I stumbled into the basement of one of these buildings, and there was all these student organizations, and I saw one that there was this thing called WXOU 88.3. This was the college's radio station. And I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know the college had a radio station. They were looking for people to come work at the radio station and volunteer at the radio station. I was like, oh my gosh, I would love to. Can I get a show or something? And they're like, oh yeah. And I'm like, really? So I ended up having a show for a couple of semesters, and it was so fun. And I would say stuff like, you're listening to the Ryan in the Morning Show on 88.3 WXOU. I mean, how fun is that? You're probably listening like, that doesn't sound, why would you want to do that? Anyway, so when Matt and I said, hey, let's start a podcast, for me, I was like, hey, let's start a podcast. Let's do this. I can get a cool microphone, I can get some cool headphones and, listen to myself. So much over the course of 250 episodes has happened. That's 5 years. And in this episode today, I want to express my extreme, utter gratitude toward you for listening, because what this has done, it has transformed my life. It's transformed my business. I've been able to interview people, to sit at the feet of so many incredibly smart and talented people, rub shoulders with people that I have no business rubbing shoulders with, have conversations with people, ask questions, and learn so much. So for me, I am so thankful to have been doing this work for the last 250 episodes. Now, if you've never heard of Matt, you may be wondering, where's this Matt guy? Well, I don't know, a couple hundred episodes ago. A few years ago, we were both at different spots in our businesses, and long story short, I had capacity in my business, in my video business called Tell Studios, to be able to step away, not completely, but a little bit, one day a week or whatever, to work on Studio Sherpas stuff. Matt did not have that luxury, and it just became very apparent that he needed to focus on his business, and I was going to continue. I was going to carry the torch of Studio Sherpas, and that's why I'm here solo today. Actually, I still need to get him on the show again. We did a parting episode after we kind of worked through the stuff. We're still good friends, and he's an incredible person and such a good co-host. Let me get him back on an episode. Side note, can you hear my dog barking? Coda! In this episode, I want to share 3 big takeaways that, I'm going to share 250 big takeaways. Just kidding. 3 big takeaways that I have experienced since doing this show, since starting this show 5 years ago. So much has happened inside of my business, and I want to share that with you today. For me, I've loved the creativity in the world of video production. From the onset of Studio Sherpas, the idea wasn't that we were going to teach people how to shoot and edit. When, how to start a videography company, here's how you shoot, here's how you light interviews, all that stuff. It was like, hey, here's how to create this as a real, legit business. And for me, it became apparent that was just like one of the things I love talking about. That's one of the things I've loved learning. Like most all of the books that I have are about personal development, business related. I hardly have any. I can't even think of a filmmaking book that I have, because if there was one thing that I wanted to learn more about, it's how to run this business more efficiently, how to not be the bottleneck in the business, how to know that, one day I could retire, maybe I could sell the business. Those are the things that get me excited. So to build the Studio Sherpas brand around how to run a more efficient video business, that's where my excitement really has come from. The first one that I want to share with you is core values, the importance of core values. When I started my video business 17 years ago, I was on the internet searching, like, how do you start a business? Like, do I need a business plan? Like, so I'm reading lots of different things. And I think even in the E-Myth, he talks about having a mission and vision statement, something like that. And so, I fumbled through that, kind of wrote some stuff down, but I didn't have like really clear core value, like what I consider core values today. The reason why this is like one of the most, I think, important things that I've learned is, 5 years ago, I was going through I had a business coach, and we were doing a life plan, and I was with him for 2 days doing this, like 2 full days. And at one point he had asked me, he's like, what do you have the dream team working for you currently? And at this point, this is 2016. This is like right before or right around the same time that we launched Studio Sherpas. So ironic timing here. And at that point, I had upwards of, I think, 9 employees, full-time employees. And, we had 2 different brands. We had our wedding filmmaking brand, and we had our corporate filmmaking brand. And I think we had just, one of our producer had moved on, and maybe an intern had left or something like that. So we were down to 6 full-time employees plus myself, so 7 full-time employees. And Lee asked me this question, do you have your dream team? And I was like, John and Grant, like, these guys are lifers. I love these guys. I love their families. Like, these guys they're my dream team. But I have 4 other employees that they're not my dream team. And, we processed through that, and he was kind of like, well, you need to fire him. And I was like, I can't fire him. My business isn't, I can't do that. Like, I don't even know, what would I do? Which reminded me of a time, a couple of years prior to that, when I had my first full-time hire, thinking about firing that person because the relationship got to a place where I really needed to fire him. And I was like, but I can't fire him, because if I fire him, then the business will fall apart. That's what I thought. That's what I believed. And maybe it would have, because I didn't have really good processes. I didn't have a good structure for the business, which I'll talk about in a little bit here. But here's what happened. After that coaching experience where I was like, I don't have the dream team. He's like, you need to fire him. I'm like, I can't do that. I came back to work, and we were in a really tough financial situation in 2016. And part of it was due to the fact that I started this other business, Studio Sherpas, with Matt Davis. And a lot of my time and resources, what I thought I had available for this new company, I really didn't. I kind of forgot to work my sales pipeline, and I forgot to be reaching out to people and networking and finding more clients that would hire us to do video while I'm, wanting to teach people about how to get people to hire. So it was a really awkward time, and not super convenient, because we were really struggling. We had to borrow money, and it was really, really tough. It was one of the hardest times in my career of owning a business. And so I just remember sitting around the ping pong table at our former studio and just telling everybody at the ping pong table, I said, hey, listen, you guys, we're in a really hard financial spot, and I shared numbers with them. I was like, we're paycheck to paycheck here, which wasn't a surprise for, I think 1 or 2 of the employees, but for the rest of them, they're like, oh, wow. Okay. And so I said, hey, I totally get it. If you don't feel comfortable, if you don't feel secure, that's fine. And if you feel like, hey, I got to move on, like, that's fine. But I just want you to know, I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm going to pay you first, make sure that you guys are paid and taken care of before I pay myself. And I am working really hard to get us back into a position where things are healthy and good. And that was my commitment. Well, within the next week, one of my guys left. And I was like, oh, and this was one of my guys that wasn't like, he wasn't a dream employee or dream team. And then 2 weeks after that, another one of my employees put in his 2 weeks notice. And then about another 2 weeks after that, then the third one did. And then finally I had one remaining employee out of the 4 that weren't the dream team. And I was just like, well, this person isn't coming to me. They're not putting in their 2 weeks notice. And it wasn't a threat. I wasn't threatening people, but my two dream team employees, they did come to me after that meeting and said, I'm in. Like, whatever we can do to help get the business back to, a healthy position, we're in it. We're in it. And so in my mind, I'm like, of course you're my dream team, because you guys you're hungry. You're wanting to do whatever it takes. But these other people are just kind of like, it was a job to them. So this fourth person, who I'm like, I can't fire this person because the person hasn't done anything worthy of firing in my mind. And I just felt this like really heavy prompting along with my coach telling me, you need to fire this person. And here's how you can do it. And so I sat down with the person and I said, hey, it's just working out. It's just working out. So we're going to keep you. No, it's just not working out. And we're going in a different direction. So I have to let you go. That was basically the conversation. Said, I'm really sorry. And, obviously pay you for 2 weeks. I'll give you a 2-week, whatever that's called, and severance. And, but appreciate all that you've done here. And that's it. Person cried. I was, upset. I was doing everything I could to avoid that conversation. Person leaves. The people that were not on the dream team are all gone. In the meantime, we found another person. We hired another person. And this person, the energy, the life, everything that this person brought to the table was everything that we were wanting. Then, within the next 2 years or so, maybe, it was about 2 years after that, before I get there, I will say that literally within moments of that fourth person leaving, we ended up booking the biggest job that we've ever booked in the life of my business. And then we booked another one. And then we booked another one. So we booked 3 massive jobs to, that really helped us get a lot back to back into a spot where we were super profitable and things were comfortable. And it was like, okay, this is how a business runs. And 2 years after that, we realized the significance of creating core values. I read a book by Patrick Lencioni, The Ideal Team Player. And in that book, he shares 3 core values: humble, hungry, smart. And I realized that the 4 people that were on my team that weren't the ideal team players or the dream team, it was because they weren't hungry. They were punching their card. They were doing what was required for the job. So as I was thinking through the struggle of letting this person go, why I couldn't just let them go, as soon as I realized that, our core value of being hungry, this is what that person didn't have. This is why I felt bad letting go, because I couldn't identify, but now I'm able to identify that they didn't have the hunger. The person was just checking the box, doing, it reminds me of Office Space. Jennifer Aniston is working at TGI Fridays, and the requirement is they have these things, and they wear all this flair, all these pins and stuff. And she has a coworker who has just 100 pins, and she only has, I think it's 12 pins. And her manager is like, "Why aren't you wearing more pins like this guy?" And she's like, "Because we're only required to wear 12 pins." And he's like, "That's the bare minimum." She's like, "That yeah." So I'm just and she hates her job and she hates people she works with. But that was the situation with all these employees. They're good people, really good people. But what I needed for my personality, for the personality of the business, I needed people to be hungry. And when I had 2 employees coming to me after that hard conversation about finances saying, "Hey, we'll do whatever, what do you need us to do? We're in this." That is hunger. And for me, I was like, that's what I need. So reading this book, realizing that these 3 core values that Patrick was talking about were core values that sort of we kind of had, but weren't identified like this. And then realizing that for us, we should always hire and fire by our core values. So when I'm hiring people, I tell them these are the core values. This is what they mean. This is how we hire people. And then also, if you're ever struggling in one of these areas, I'm going to try to, and we can identify what those areas are. If I feel like you're not hungry, I feel like you're just punching a clock and just kind of, that's like all the work that you want to do, then we're going to have a conversation to try to figure out like how to get you back to a spot where you're really hungry. And if you don't get hungry again, then that's okay. That just means that this isn't the right job for you, and I'm going to do whatever I can to help you find a job where you can thrive in. When we started living by that principle of like hiring and firing by our core values, it permeated in the culture that we have created in our work, with our clients, every part. And it has made my job so much easier, and it has made our operations director's job so much easier to say like, oh, these are the measurables. We can actually measure whether or not a person is a good fit. Maybe they probably are when they first start, but as a year goes by or 6 months go by or whatever, we can kind of gauge and say like, how are they doing, and determine like, do they need some kind of an improvement plan, and like, let's figure out what that could look like to get them to a spot where they're like living out all these core values. So wherever you are at in your video business journey, I would highly recommend, number one, I would recommend that book, The Ideal Team Player. Nail down some core values that you would be able to say, this is a requirement for working here. We would hire and we would fire by these core values. That has been a huge, huge blessing for our business to have those and to be living those out. The second biggest thing, I think this is the second biggest thing. I mean, you can learn a lot in 5 years, but the second biggest one that I want to talk about is in 2017, we hired a good friend of mine to come and just help out at the studio. She was in an administrative role, and I had another person who was in an administration role who quit. And then Lindsay said, she's like, hey, don't do anything crazy, Ryan. Don't get upset. She left, and then, somebody else left and whatever. She's like, give me 5 minutes. So she like leaves my office, comes back in 5 minutes. She's got this like stack of paper. She hands it to me. She's like, here, look at this. And the top sheet said, how to know when you need an operations manager. And I just kind of start grinning because I'm like, okay, operations. Then I start reading this document that she's printed for me, and everything in there is like, this is exactly what I need. Somebody to manage the day-to-day operations of this business. And so as I'm like reading this, I'm smiling bigger and bigger. She's like, that's what you need, and I want to do that role for you. And I'm like, are you serious? She was the person that could do this job. She had a couple of businesses, sold a couple of businesses, and I'm like, and she was successful. So I was like, yes, please come do that. And then shortly thereafter, we were introduced to a business structure called the Entrepreneurial Operating System. You've heard me talk about this if you've listened to the show for 2 seconds. There's a book called Traction by a guy named Gino Wickman. This book I felt like was written for me, and it is a structure for how to run a business. It's not for everybody, but I read the book and I'm like, this is exactly the way that I should be running my business. And part of that is core values. Part of running on EOS in this model is to make sure that you have core values so that you can hire and fire based on core values. And there's lots more stuff inside of the EOS model that has been so helpful for us. Things like our daily tactical meetings, our weekly level 10 meetings, our 90-day meetings, our yearly planning sessions, all of these things that have helped us be so focused and clear on what it is that we actually want as a business, and then to be able to build a plan around that, and then to have accountability to help us get there. That has dramatically, applying that system to our business, because I had piecemealed everything together up until that point. I would hear a good book on business and be like, oh, we should do that. I'd hear something else. I'd be like, oh, we should do that. And so it was like all of these really good ideas, and we tried a bunch of different things. And it was like, well, if we're stealing different things, at some point it was like, well, this kind of contradicts this here. So which thing do we do? And then we were leaning on me to make all the decisions. In EOS, they first off make it real. They break down a business model super simply, which my brain needs. They say every business has a visionary and a integrator. And sometimes it is the same person. But in a healthy business, a visionary is the person who has all the ideas. They're the ones probably who started the business. And then the integrator is the one, let's say the visionary has 100 ideas. The integrator is the one that takes one of the 100 ideas and says, okay, Ryan, this one right here, this one sounds like the one you're most passionate about. Also one that we could probably make the most money on, or that would save us the most time, in the business. So let's focus on this one. And then that person, the integrator, would help build a plan for how to make that happen. So as a visionary, as a person who's always coming up with new ideas, new ways to market, new products that we can offer for a video company, we can't do all of the things, right? If you try to do all of the things, what happens? Usually none of them get done. And if they do get done, they're not done well because you're just spreading yourself so thin. It's like being a jack of all trades, but the master of none. That's like, it's not super helpful. I mean, it's fine and it works. And for so long in my business, I was the jack of all trades. I had to do all of the things. But as I, started delegating and finding freedom and staying in my zone of genius, there was just so much more life and so much more contentment and happiness and fulfillment in my work. And so having this structure to just say like, okay, like there's lots of business practices and things that we can try and do and whatever, but like this structure here, this is really, we can adapt this whole thing and only use this structure. We don't need other things. It has been a game changer for us. An EOS model, like traditional, they say like you should have minimum 10 employees, but I continue to meet more businesses that are running on EOS model that have fewer than 10 employees. You could have 2 employees and run EOS. And there's some things that you can't really do having a smaller team on EOS, but some of the built-in practices like the meetings and the goal settings and all that stuff is so incredible. It has been game-changing for this business, which really brings me to the third thing that I am currently in the midst of just a massive transformation in my personal life and business life because of this number 3, and it's the importance of time. This is one of those things that, it's been 5 years since I started this thing, and it's been 17 years since I started my video business. And my kids have gotten older. I have a 14-year-old who in like 3 months, I think, maybe 4 months, he's supposed to start driver's training. Are you serious? When I started my video business, which doesn't seem that long ago, I didn't have any kids. So time goes by so fast. If you're listening to this on 2X, you're like me, and I know why. But don't miss that. And I know you've heard it before, but time goes by so fast. And my relationship with my kids, we have incredible memory. We've done such cool stuff together. We've had opportunity to travel and to go places and do things and to be with people. So many cool things, but I'm not done. I have a 6-year-old. I have an 11-year-old. I'm not done making memories. And the hardest thing in running a business is always feeling like you're needed inside of the business, feeling like you can't step away, feeling like if you step away, it will all fall down. Or if you let a key employee go, it will all fall down. Having a system in place like EOS has allowed us to be in a spot that if a key employee leaves, and key employees have left 2 in the last 2 years, and the business is more profitable today than it's been in a long time. We're more efficient today than we've been in a long time. Instead of 8 full-time employees, I have 4 full-time employees. 5 if you include myself. And we're making more money, and I'm working less. Today I work about 3 days a week is generous on our production company. I rarely am I working 3 days a week on my full day on the production company, Tell Studios. Don't tell my team that. I'm not sure they listen to the show. Just kidding. One of them edits the video for this show. What's up, Zach? Thanks for editing, man. As time is fleeting, as I've, the longer I've owned my business, the more I'm like, how can I free up more of my time? Because I want to spend more time with my family. I want to spend more time doing things I love, like Studio Sherpas, the Grow Your Video Business podcast, speaking into the lives of other videographers, helping other videographers know what's possible, like in their own lives and in their own businesses, trying to let people know, like, you don't have to always be the cog. You don't have to be the bottleneck in your business. There are other ways to build a business. And granted, you might be the most creative, amazing director, DP that there is. And that's awesome. And you can also build on that and not have to be the one that's always on call, always on set. There are things that you can do. For me, the fact that I'm not is just testimony to say, like, if I can do it, yeah, it's kind of cliche, but if I can do it, you can do it. I'm serious. The importance of time being this, like, the third biggest thing that I've learned over 250 episodes in this podcast. And I say 250 episodes is because I've had so many incredible guests on. Holy cow. I have learned so much over 5 years and a lot of things that I've actually applied to my business. So people are like, oh, Ryan, thanks for leading Studio Sherpas and the podcast and all the things that you teach and the courses that you sell and, just all the education that you bring. I'm like, well, it's not all from me. Like, so little of it is from me, so much of it is like from me hearing an idea from a guest and thinking like, yeah, I think we could do that. Or, we could do that, but we would tweak it. Here's how we would do it differently. Here's how it could apply to our business today in this like time thing. Things that we have done are like productizing our offerings. So we are a service-based company, and we have realized that, for me, I'm the main salesperson as well. And I don't want to be relied on for sales. I want the sales that I bring to be icing on the cake. I also want to be able to leave work for 3 weeks on vacation, which I did earlier this summer, which was amazing. And then I took another 2 weeks throughout the summer. I think I did 5 weeks of vacation this summer, and the lights stayed on. My employees nobody quit. That was pretty cool. One thing that didn't happen as much as I wanted to is sales. So I want to be able to leave for 3 weeks, and I want us to be able to make as much money or more with me gone. Like, that's what I'm trying to build now. So one of the first things that we focus on doing is productizing our offerings, creating packages for the different things that we offer so that it's easy for anybody to sell this. The challenge comes when you're customizing every single quote. Somebody that really knows production needs to do that. But if I've got package A, B, and C, if you call me, you're a business, you need a video, I can say, it sounds like you need a brand video, and like, here are the 3 brand videos that we offer. Or for me to build my business around, we only do brand videos, and these are the 3 kinds of brand videos that we do. These are the price points. I can equip any person with that information. So productizing what we're doing, creating a template has allowed me to be able to pass off the responsibility for some of the responsibility. We're not there yet, but we're in the middle of it. And I've experienced other people selling inside of this business and making a lot of money, selling hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of stuff that didn't require me to be a part of that. That person left. So now I'm kind of like, oh, okay. So let's get back to our roots of let's build some packages and sell these. And it's working. And the team can be invited into it, and the process is becoming cleaner and quicker. And along with this productization is automation. It's, when people are reaching out to us and inquiring about doing video project for them, it's giving them a form to fill out that makes them have to think a little bit more about their video project, and automatically goes out, and where they can book a time automatically to have a meeting with me, where I don't have to hop on a call just because the phone's ringing and spend 45 minutes on a phone call in the middle of my day when I've got other things going on, but I can do it on days and times where I've opened up availability. So I'm able to focus on the other things that help move the needle of the business forward. Creating email templates. We just spent like a full day earlier this week on our entire process, from the point of me having an initial call with a client, to booking, to pre-production, production, post-production, delivery, post-delivery, talking through all of those things, figuring out who's responsible. Has anything changed in our process? Do we need to update anything? Because we're moving from one project management system to another, and we just wanted to make sure that we were doing stuff as best as we could. And we found some loopholes, and we fixed the ones that we could find. And in all of that process, there are emails that need to be communicated to clients, to potential clients. And so we actually created a brand new, we call it like our email template document that has all of these emails that are pre-written. And I used one yesterday. We had somebody who said, I had a discovery call yesterday. They said, yes, we want that workshop that you're talking about. And so I got off the call. I copied the template from the email, because normally I know exactly what I need to say in the email to somebody when they book a workshop. I know exactly what I need to say. But I'm also a creative, and I like writing, and I like being overly personal a lot of times. So it's like, as a template, is this okay? But having the template is kind of like base camp. It's like it's the same. I can start here, and then if I want to add some tweaks, if I want to add a cute meme or something like that, I can do that. So I went to the document real quick, copied, pasted, put in their name. I don't even know if I changed anything else, but it was done, sent it, our project manager. Now she's got the template. She knows what emails she's supposed to send. It is beautiful, and it is a process. It's like making hamburgers at McDonald's. You know what you're going to get. And that makes it really, like, it takes all the stress off of me or my employees for them to not feel like, oh, do I have to be witty with this client, or do I have to, and you can be. Having a template allows you to be. It's like gives you a good starting place, and then you can add creativity or personality as you see fit. Our email templates actually have personality already built into them. So all of these things are relating to this idea of time. If we've got products that we can offer, instead of custom coding everything, we're going to save a lot of time. If we've got automations built, things that are happening automatically as people are going through our process, that's going to save us time. If we have these templates built and we can use those templates, that's going to save us time. And then finally, this has been the biggest mind-blown thing for me. And you've heard, if you've been listening for the last probably month and a half, you've heard me talking so much more about my virtual assistant, my executive assistant, and how I've been delegating more and more of my time. And as I'm believing this to be one of the greatest takeaways over the last 5 years of what I've done, having an operations person and letting that person run the day-to-day operations of the business, having my team shoot and edit and creatively direct products, and for me to not be producing, for me to just hand off the parts, for me to be a part of the sale or not, and just let the business run. That has been really freeing for me, because the projects that I wanted to jump into, I've been able to jump into. And this idea of delegation, handing off things that somebody else can do better than me, faster than me, less expensively than me, again, allows me to focus on the things that I want to, the things that will be most helpful to the business. For me, if I was I want to update the text on the front page of our website and sub out some images, I can do that work. And it is going to take some time away from other things that I could be doing. So I also have a web designer that is a contractor, and he helps us out whenever we need. And I forget what his rate is, but I think it's $50 or $60 an hour. It's not a crazy rate, whatever. My minimum for me, I want to bill out my time at least $100 an hour. So I use that as a threshold and think okay, does this cost $100 an hour or more? And then knowing that, my web designer could actually do it way faster than me, because I've got a bunch of other things to do as well. And then it's not even that high a priority for me, but it sure would be cool if we got it done. So I'm getting so much more used to this idea of delegating and bringing on other people, hiring other people to do the things that they are an expert at, which is allowing me to stay in my zone of genius in my biggest focus, which is trying to figure out our sales process so that I don't have to sell, so that I could hire somebody to do the selling, And then I can spend more time in Studio Sherpas, or I can spend time on a project with our team if I want to, because I have more bandwidth and I'm not feeling like, well, I got to make sure that I'm, selling, because that's how the business runs. So being able to delegate, I have gotten back so much more of my time. Not that I have like all this free time, but I have more time to focus on the more important things that really only I should be doing in the business. And I want to get to a spot in my business where it's like, well, Ryan, we actually don't need you for anything. If you have some good ideas for us, cool. But we've got production down. We've got delivery down. We've got sales down. We've got all the parts down. If you want to bring more sales in, sure, like go ahead. That's where I want to be. I want to be at a place where the company's like, yeah, we could use some more sales if you want. I mean, we're pretty busy, but if you've got a big fish you're frying, like, let's go, bring it on. If you've got a course creator partner that is going to give us some recurring revenue, like bring them on. Let's do this. That's where I'm headed in this business. So 5 years, 250 episodes. I've learned a lot, and I don't want to undersay this. I don't want to overemphasize this. How do you say it? I appreciate you. I am so thankful for you. Seriously. Over the past 5 years, I've received so many kind words of you saying the show's been helpful for you. The stuff that I teach has been helpful for you. You've been able to charge more for your video clients. You've been able to do more fulfilling work. So many things. And I'm about to embark on like one of my all-time favorite things. 2 years ago, we hosted the Onward Summit, the first in-person event that we ever did. And I was like, this is what I want to do. This is so fun. This is so fulfilling. And here we are. I am 3 days away from time you're listening to this. We've already done the event, but I'm 3 days away from hosting this event again. And what a gift. What a gift that this passion project, this thing that, I used to just volunteer to do, to say, man, I just want to pour into this community. I want to help raise everybody's level of excellence and rates and all that stuff so people can do this work for a super long time. And now, like today, to be able to get paid for it is allowing me to do it more, which it's just like this, like, it's incredibly amazing and awesome. So please know that I am so grateful for you for listening, for sharing the show, for all of your encouragement. Don't stop encouraging me. I'm a words of affirmation kind of guy. I like that stuff. I'm also a hugger, so those are probably two of my favorite things. But I just want to express my gratitude. Thank you for listening to this episode, and thank you for being a part of the Studio Sherpas journey and the Grow Your Video Business podcast. Lots of fun stuff coming your way soon. And again, I am grateful to be your fearless leader. Is that how your fearless Sherpa? Something like that. But thank you, my friend. What a journey. Let's go. 250 more? I mean, should we do it? Let's do it. I'm in. You in? We're in. Okay, let's do this. Godspeed, my friends. Take care, and I'll see you on the next episode. Bye for now.